For the iCUE Link system specifically, so far, it's just a newer system that's only been out for maybe not even the last year. I've really not been aware of any way to adapt non-Corsair devices into that system. But as I was perusing on their website the other day, I saw this very cool little cable, which is what we're going to talk about today. Now, this is the iCUE Link RGB LED adapter. So naturally, that got my attention. Over the recent past, we've talked a lot about the iCUE Link ecosystem from Corsair. Now, I've done a number of different videos on that system and some of the products that are associated with it. I'll link to those in the description below so you can check those out if you're not familiar with it. But just to give you a quick recap of the iCUE Link ecosystem, basically you start out with a system hub which has 2 connectors on it. Each of these connectors will control up to 7 devices. You'll have a number of different cables with different lengths and different connections on here. The 90-degree ones are kind of ideal and what I usually prefer to have in there. You also do have a standard one, but they make different cables with different connections, different lengths. You kind of have to customize what fits best for your case. From there, you'll have a bunch of different iCUE Link enabled devices, including fans, AIOs, water pumps, LCD panels, so on and so forth. Now, one of the things we've looked at on this channel quite a bit on some of the older controllers, the Core XT, the Commander Pro, the Lighting Node Pro, those things, is how to integrate non-Corsair devices into the RGB ecosystem. Now, with all those older legacy controllers, as I'll call them, that's been relatively simple to do with a couple of adapter cables. You can use the 3-pin RGB connections on those controllers and adapt in non-standard Corsair RGB. Now, it's not a perfect world because iCUE is kind of locked down and it uses just Corsair models. You don't really get the ability to determine or to specify how many LEDs on a particular device. So you have to kind of do that and pick from the devices that Corsair already has defined, which are just their products. Now, for the iCUE Link system specifically, so far, it's just a newer system that's only been out for maybe not even the last year. I've really not been aware of any way to adapt non-Corsair devices into that system. But as I was perusing on their website the other day, I saw this very cool little cable, which is what we're going to talk about today. Now, this is the iCUE Link RGB LED adapter. Now, this cable is designed specifically for the XG7 or XG5 GPU water blocks from Corsair. Both of those water blocks have a Corsair 3-pin ARGB connection, and its intended use was to plug it into a Commander Core XT or a Commander Pro or a Lighting Node Pro and get it into iCUE that way. It also does come with an adapter cable that converts the Corsair connector into standard 3-pin ARGB, which you could then plug into your motherboard or an ARGB hub for that matter and gain control over the RGB lighting that way. But Corsair released this cable specifically to adapt that connection into the iCUE Link ecosystem. So, wow, very cool, Corsair. There's a novel idea. So obviously this cable will work for that intended purpose, the XG7 and XG5. Now, how this cable works is when you plug this into the iCUE Link hub, iCUE will detect this as an XG7 GPU water block. In fact, that's the icon that it gives it, and it gives you the 17 LEDs to control over that. So it works very well for that purpose. Obviously embedded in this cable into the connection is obviously an identifying chip somehow to signal back into the iCUE Link system that it is this specific device, and iCUE has it modeled to have 17 LEDs. So works very well for that. There's no problems using it for the XG7 or XG5. That's its intended purpose. Very cool, but it got me to thinking, well, if I can do that and I've got this little 3-pin Corsair connector, I should be able to adapt any non-Corsair RGB into this ecosystem. Now, it works well for that. I'm going to show you that here in just a second. The one very big limitation of this is the XG7 only has 17 LEDs, so that is the max LEDs you're going to get out of this. But if you can get this into a hub, you can kind of repeat that same 17 LED control out to multiple different devices. So let's open this up and take a look at the device. But as we can see here, it is just an iCUE Link connector, and we do have the Corsair 3-pin ARGB connection on here. And again, as you compare this to the standard cable, this LED adapter cable from Corsair is much bigger. So without cutting it open, I have to assume that there's some sort of electronics in here that's signaling back to iCUE that this is an XG7. But let me take you through real quick how we can use this to get non-Corsair devices into the iCUE Link ecosystem. Obviously, you're going to make your connection to the hub, and then iCUE Link would show that as an XG7, of course. Now, next up, I have the cable that we've looked at a lot on this channel. Now, this is a Corsair 3-pin connector to standard 3-pin ARGB. Basically, we're going to connect this into this here. Now, normally, this would be your XG7 cable that's plugging into here, and then you would get control. But instead, we're going to adapt it to standard 3-pin ARGB. Next up, I'm going to take this ARGB hub from Cool Moon. Now, this could be any standard 3-pin ARGB 5-volt hub, and that should work just fine. But basically, it's got a cable connected here. This is the input, and it's got the standard 3-pin 5-volt ARGB. And we're going to take the cable from the iCUE Link hub and now plug it into here. So now we have the Corsair LED adapter cable. We have the Corsair 3-pin to standard 3-pin 5-volt ARGB adapter cable. And then we have our input cable to the hub. So that's kind of what we're going to do. Now, what will happen on a hub like this is we'll be able to get control over 17 LEDs out of that, and it will just repeat the same signal for the 17 LEDs over each port here. So the one takeaway from this is that your device really needs to have less than 17 LEDs. If you have 36 LEDs on a device, it's just going to light up maybe half of it, and that's about it. So this is going to be limiting really for a lot of uses. But I have these fans over here, for example, from Thermalright. These each have 4 LEDs on here, and they just make a standard 3-pin 5-volt ARGB connection. I can plug it into this hub, and I can get full control using iCUE Link over these. So let me go ahead and show you that in action. Looking over into iCUE, this shows up as the XG7 RGB device here. We can click into this, and then we get control over the 16 LEDs. I think I said 17 earlier, but it looks like it is 16 that you get control over. And basically from here, you can control all of these LEDs just like you do any others. You can select them individually, or you can go ahead and apply a lighting effect to it. So let's go down here to lighting effects, and we can click a new lighting layer. And of course, we can tell it watercolor. And as you can see, all of these devices light up here. Now, what we can do here, just to take a closer look at this, is we can come down to custom. We'll go down into static color. Now we can just select a single LED. Now again, these fans only have 4 on here, so if we just select each one here, once we get to the 5th one, maybe they've got 6 in it, 7, 8. Okay, so they've got 8 LEDs in these fans. Once we get to the 9th one, as you can see, all the lights go out here. But we can select just whichever ones we want. But you can see here we're controlling the XG7, but it's adapted into non-Corsair RGB devices, which is very cool. And then of course we can apply all of the standard lighting presets. And we'll select all here, and we can kind of get this to go just the same as we would everything else. And of course this will participate into the lighting link. So really, at the end of the day, as long as your device has less than 16 LEDs, it's going to work just fine. Now, I've not played around with this long term. I don't know if there's any other issues with this cable and iCUE Link or things like that. So, you know, this is not the intended use for this from Corsair. I personally don't see that it's going to be any issue, because really all we're taking is the RGB signal from iCUE. We're not taking any power or anything to it. The Cool Moon RGB hub here is powering all of this. So anyways, this is very cool. I would say check out this cable. If you've got some non-Corsair RGB that you want to try to get working, as long as it's got less than 16 LEDs, I think this cable is a great solution. So anyways, that's going to do it for today. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I will put an affiliate link in the description below to this cable and the iCUE Link components that I've shown here. Anyways, let me know if you have any questions, comments, concerns. That's going to do it for today. Thanks for watching.